Welcome back to the Kovacs Report. Yes, you knew this video was coming. You knew it wouldn't be long before I turned the camera on and talked about that cover, the Amazing Spider-Man 1000 John Romita Jr. Cover A, to celebrate the 1000th issue of pretty much one of the most important comic books in the history of comic books, as far as I'm concerned. And yes, he is my favorite character, and that might sound a bias, but let's be honest, this is the spider that launched a house of ideas. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about all the ins and outs, Marvel's backtracking several times over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And I'm going to give you my honest opinion and thoughts about this whole debacle. Before we get into it, don't forget, like the video, please do hit subscribe. I'm trying to build an honest opinion channel here. Sometimes you'll like my opinions, sometimes you won't. But they're just opinions. You can listen to them, you can forget them, you can agree with them, you can do what you want, as long as you're civil. Anyway, back to this. So this is the cover. This is what they released to the world. Not only did it have absolutely terrible graphic design all over it, not helping the cover itself, but as you can see, it's very strange, is it not? Of course, fans, and myself included, well, we had a lot to talk about it. Now, I did make a video, and I highlight all of the centenary covers over the last 1,000 issues to compare the quality and how they looked next to each other. There were some amazing covers. There was a couple of, not so amazing covers. But as far as I'm concerned, John Romita Jr. is a legend, a living legend. And having said that, even though he's one of my favourite Spider-Man artists of all time, I also thought this wasn't up to his standard. So let's talk about that, okay? I think we have to look at the Amazing Spider-Man book itself over the last number of years. You can take your pick. If you look at John Romita Jr.'s work in previous years, it's beautiful, is it not? And if you take a little peek at his work in The Amazing Spider-Man in recent times, it feels like a lot of love for the craft has vanished. But then I thought, well, it's not the craft, it's the book. It's the script. It's how the fans are receiving these stories. I think he's fallen out of love with this character. He's drawn more issues, I think, than any other comic book artist on the planet of Amazing Spider-Man. Maybe he's just bored. Maybe he's fed up with the terrible scripts that he's getting. But suffice to say, it's not up to standard if you compare it back to his JMS run, which we'll talk about JMS in a second too. Now, if you compare the current work to the creator-owned project he's working on with Mark Millar, it's night and day. From the pages that I've seen, it's some of the best work he's ever produced. And again, John Romita Jr. is one of my comic book heroes. I love the man. But this wasn't up to scratch. This is not a good example of his work. Now, people say, well, you can't insult a living legend. Well, maybe you can't. But what you can do is just be honest. Now, I've worked in the creative industry for over 30 years, and I still create stuff, and I look back and I think, I could do better than that. You know what I mean? And I go back to the literal drawing board. And I think it's the same for anyone in any business. There comes a time when you've been in the business decades at this point, right? And, well, legend or not, it's just not up to scratch, and it's time to maybe, put it to a side and work on something else. There's no shame in that. You've created a legacy of work that we all love. Why damage it now? So I do believe, legend or not, no matter who the creator is, there comes a point where it's not as polished and it's not as good as it was before. And that's the warning sign. That's the time to say, work on something else. So let's talk about Marvel. Oh, my Lord. I've had to write notes about this because there's so many turns. So in late May, I think it was maybe the 19th, 20th of May, they announced this teaser poster here. And this was the cover, painted by Rivera. Now, people say, well, yeah, well, it's because, it's been painted over. His pencils are probably so much better. It's the art that's, changing the way this looks, and it doesn't. We've got the pencils. We'll take a little look. And again, it's not bad at all. You know what I mean? It's beautifully put together as it normally is. It has that signature style of John Romita Jr., but it's those shoulders and that head. But of course, they explained that this was supposed to be the perspective of the pedestrian, the civilian on the street looking up and seeing Spider-Man swing by and the G-force and the inertia and, how he would look from your point of view swinging by. And that reminded me of something else that I was told since the beginning of my creative career, which is you have to explain your work, then it hasn't worked, right? It should, by definition, just say what you're trying to say. So again, for a creator that's been working this long in the industry, why did he submit this to Marvel? And that raises another question. Why did Marvel accept it? Marvel are notorious for getting involved. We're talking about Nick Lowe more than anything lately about what he's done to Spider-Man. But Nick Lowe should have said, hold on a minute. But then you say, well, you can't talk to a legend like that. Well, you can, because legend or not, he's being hired to do a job. Okay? And if it's not up to scratch and you know what the internet's like, you should throw it back and say, hey, man, could we just have some tweaks like they do with everything? So this isn't John Romita Jr.'s fault at all. He's drawn something. It wasn't up to scratch. Marvel has said, okay. And then they sent it out to the world. It's crazy. It really is crazy. So Marvel, like I say, May 19th, 20th, they announced it. The fans went crazy. Like I said, I made a video, and hopefully I didn't come across as a bit of an arsehole with the things that I've said, because I do respect the man. And then Marvel did what they normally do. Well, actually, they didn't, because normally Marvel just doubled down and doubled down and doubled down. They actually backtracked and said, no, you're right. We're very, very sorry. This is actually not the main cover. We have a Larraz cover. Okay, who's currently one of the best artists on Spider-Man at the moment, and I love his work too. And the fans said, well, hold on a minute. How can you take our cover where it looks like Spider-Man's doing a shrug away from a living legend like that? How dare you? They were absolutely ravenous, as you can expect. So Marvel thought, well, what do we do? What do we do? So they decided to change the whole thing all over again. What did they do? They actually removed the cover. They removed the cover from the back end where you order the cover if you're a retailer, and it vanished and it was replaced with the Larraz cover. So, of course, this didn't pan out for Marvel at all. No, you had the whole industry this time, not just fans shouting at Marvel. Scott Snyder, Jimmy Palmiotti, Mark Brooks, Declan Shalvey, and many, many, many others. So what did Marvel do? Well, Marvel, they decided to revert that change. Yes. And then I think there was another reversion. This has been 6 press releases, I think I've read. 6 back and forths about whether this cover is the A cover, the B cover, a variant cover, not being able to order it at all, which we're going to talk about that now. I think that is actually disrespectful because, yes, we the fans, or a lot of us, we didn't like it. There were many fans that also liked it too. You know, there's a sock for every foot. But what they should never have done is gone, okay, we're going to no longer print it. That was the major disrespect. That was huge in my eyes, and it really tainted Marvel's dealing with this whole subject at that point for me, is that at the end of the day, you're happy to pump out 20 years of Spider-Man comics, which the majority of the fans absolutely detest. But you're going to bend over a cover? That doesn't make sense. Yes, it is issue 1000. It is a huge achievement, and you want that cover to sell, right? Right. But no, they decided to remove it. So that is the biggest slight to me towards the creator, okay? Especially as John Romita Jr. is synonymous with Spider-Man. They should never have done that. They should never have done that. They should have quit while they were ahead and just said, look, actually, there's 2 A covers. Pick the one you want, right? And then everybody would have been happy. So Nick Lowe comes out with his usual BS explanation. I'm going to read it word for word. Our announcement of the added Pepe Larraz cover, added, not replacement, added Pepe Larraz cover seems to have been misunderstood. In addition to John Romita Jr. and Paulo Rivera's Jam cover, we also wanted to highlight the issue 1000 more concretely, hence Pepe's cover with color artist Marty Garcia. Our goal is to bring as many legendary Spider-Man artists together for this monumental celebration. So the thing is, this is an outright lie. An outright lie. Because the distributors, Penguin Random House, they wouldn't remove a book that you can order from their ordering system unless they were instructed by Marvel to do it. So this is basically damage control. And I wish Nick Lowe would just be honest for once and just say, do you know what? We messed up. We made the wrong decision, okay? We disrespected a living legend, and we're sorry for that, okay? And because of that, we're going to make it up to you, okay? I think he's got another variant cover coming as well. But this is the thing. Marvel doesn't give a shit. They just want to sell comics. They actually don't care what the covers look like, really. Even the 1000th issue, they didn't care enough, right, to really spend the time and create something that was literally amazing. They just threw it out there. They didn't question it. They do not care about Spider-Man. I mean, you can see here, this cover on the right, this is the Larraz cover, right, which was supposed to replace the John Romita Jr. cover. And yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and I love it. I love it. But I look back at some of the other centenary issues, and I can say, well, there's been better. And again, I'm going to say it again. Pepe Larraz is one of my favourite artists in the modern times. So there we go. How do I feel about it? I don't know. I feel like there's a bitter taste around an issue we're supposed to be celebrating, right? Because we're all Spider-Man fans. I wanted it to be special too, but it just feels like this might be remembered for this controversy more than anything else, because it certainly won't be remembered for the story because, as you know, Joe Kelly's writing it. I'm sorry, Joe Kelly. I know you're a fantastic writer, but ASM is not for you. Now let's talk about writers, because I'm a little bit upset about that too. So they've spent this time, acknowledging that John Romita Jr. is a legend and supporting him, and they're talking about bringing the greatest artists onto the book. But they have omitted someone very, very important. I mean, they brought Brian Michael Bendis back. Okay, that's cool. Ultimate Spider-Man. They brought Dan Slott. You love him or you hate him, but yeah, I guess he has contributed to Amazing Spider-Man. Frank Miller, a living legend, however, not contributed too much to Spider-Man. Oh yeah, okay, he has done some stuff. J.M. DeMatteis, of course. Larry Lieber, even Stan Lee's brother, who writes the daily strips, and a few others too. But what they haven't brought back is J. Michael Straczynski. And I think he has had such an integral part of Spider-Man. I guess at the end of his run, when it went into the One More Day and Brand New Day, it fell apart. But that was Marvel mandated. I think that is a huge disrespect too. And funnily enough, those two were the people that brought Spider-Man back from the brink and made it even better than it was when they had their run. Isn't that strange? Both of those creators. Now, the slight, for me, is made even worse by the fact that they brought essentially an unknown writer. They invited an unknown writer to celebrate issue 1000, but not JMS. They brought Noah Hawley. Now, I have no problem with Noah Hawley, at all. This isn't about him. But he's an American writer and filmmaker. He's best known for creating the FX series Legion, Fargo, and Alien Earth. And for some reason, I think he works on an X-Men cartoon or something, right? For some reason, he gets to write a story in this it's not Centennial now, I forget what the word is, in this 1000th issue of Spider-Man, but JMS doesn't? How is that fair? This is the same thing as Jordan Morris. This is people from Disney's TV and film side who are being slotted in to the comics. And we can see how that's panned out with Spider-Versity, right? And this is a shame, because JMS deserves a place in that book. He does more than a few other writers that are on this list. I think there's a few more. It's just not fair to me. It's just not fair at all. If you want Noah Hawley to write a comic book, give him something. But issue 1000? Really? And not JMS? I don't know. This whole thing, for me, it's really, really, really solidified the fact that Marvel really have disconnected with Spider-Man. They're out of touch with Spider-Man. I do believe they're out of touch with their audience. They are pandering to a loud minority who don't buy comics, or at least they don't buy comics continually for decades like, the rest of us do. They don't fill seats in the cinema, and they don't give a shit about the stories. They just care about, ideology and messaging. And that's where Marvel's fallen apart. They focus too much on the wrong things, and this is the mess we're in. I mean, yes, there's lots of fans still there, but of course they've grown up in the last 10 years with these poor stories. So to them, that's the quality, right? That's the bar. So they don't know any different. But everyone else who's been around a little bit longer, we know. And this is just another slight in a long list from Marvel towards the Amazing Spider-Man and some of its creators. I'm a bit sad. I am actually. I'm a bit sad. Let's cheer up. We're looking at some covers, because there's a load of covers. These are just some of them. This is the Pere Larraz cover, which is nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so we've got a lot of coming soons as well, no doubt. So we'll just try to get. Eric Larson's got a cover too, actually, I think, in there. This is the Alex Ross variant, which looks really, really cool. A classic moment in Spider-Man's history. You all know the cover that it is paying homage to. This is, again, another homage cover. It looks really good. Ed McGuinness has done a fantastic job here. Fantastic job. So there's going to be variants and foil variants of a lot of these covers. Again, it's a little bit of a shame they've not got them all. We've got this one, which I don't think's great either. And this looks like this was done on the bus on the way home. I'm really sorry. Yeah. I think there's going to be a cover for each of the stories inside, which we're going to look at in just a second. Well, this was pretty damn cool. This one is J. Scott Campbell. That does look very, very nice. I like the reflections of sort of classic characters and villains in his mask. God, how many covers coming soon are there? There we go. This is obviously Liber Mayho, and it looks gorgeous. To me, and maybe this is just because it's my personal taste, this screams 1,000 issues as a main cover. It looks pretty damn stunning, right? Look at those classic villains. I love the way Liber Mayho renders his characters. This, of course, is the Marcos Martin cover. I guess it's the Dan Slott story. That's right. Yeah, you'll find Dan Slott in some of our comments, actually, if you look hard enough. Okay, Mark Bagley, of course, you've got to have him return. Again, pretty cool cover. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. What else we got? Oh, we've got the meme, of course, that famous meme. I guess this is going to wrap around and you'll have the other Spider-Mans on the back cover too. What else we got? This is interesting. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. So I guess this ties in with the computer game. I mean, why? This has nothing to do with Spider-Man, really. Let's be honest. Okay, more covers. And there we go. We've got that cover we've just spoken about. How many more? I do like this cover. Patrick Gleason. I think Patrick Gleason's been wasted on Amazing Spider-Man because he hasn't got any of the issues with any real action in it or not enough pages. I don't think he's had a chance to shine on ASM, but his work's pretty nice. I mean, look at that cover. It is stunning. Again, that's a cover worthy of a 1,000th issue, in my opinion, as is the other Pepe Larraz cover, which looks cool, showcasing the new villain, Ravage, which no doubt is going to be someone that we already know who he is. There he is, actually. This is something new. He's got some kind of weapon that I've not seen before. I've not seen this cover. This is Ryan Stegman. So I think that's a better look at Ravage. And we all know, like I say, who that's going to be under the mask. Okay, Scotty Young. Now, you got to have a Scotty Young nowadays, right? What's a variant without Scotty Young involved? And then we got this one by Stuart Immerman, which looks pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. This looks like it's a page from inside the book rather than a cover that's been drawn specifically. But the covers go on and on and on. And no doubt we're going to get even more. Yeah, so far there's 29 or 30 that have been announced, some better than others. But there we go. I think I've spoken for long enough on this. I'm really disappointed in Marvel. I really, really, really am. And the thing is, I'm going to be even more disappointed when I crack this book open. I don't know. I'm talking about cracking it open. Let's look at the stories. Ravage. So this is where Joe Kelly and thankfully Pepe Larraz doing the interior artwork are going to introduce this brand new character who, get ready, this is the big spoiler alert and you know it already, which is no doubt going to turn out to be Peter's long-lost cousin. All right. We've got The Gesture by Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Immonen, which sounds cool. No sort of synopsis. Now I Can Rest by Dan Slott and Marcos Martin, so at least we know it's going to look good. Tears of the Spider Queen by Frank Miller and Peach Momoko, a very strange pairing. So I'm actually interested to see how that story pans out. You know, another living legend there. Noah Hawley and Patrick Gleason, they get a story called Still Standing, and Of Webs and Six Guns, Larry Lieber and Giuseppe Camocoli. So there we go. Let me know what you think, because it is a tricky one, right? Yes, the cover wasn't great. Yes, we shouldn't be disrespecting a living legend, but then again, we shouldn't make excuses for bad work. It's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess, and I think Marvel made it even messier. Like the video, hit subscribe. We'll see you, hopefully, very, very soon. Take care now.